Hello, dear viewers. I am a global nationalist. I support nationalism in my country, India, and in all countries around the world. Today, we're going to look at Iran and the protests that are happening against the compulsory rule of wearing a hijab by Iranian women due to the death of Masin Amini. Let's begin. So, let's look at the issue of the hijab in Iran. The hijab is pretty much a headscarf for women and Muslims to wear, and I will give my own personal opinion on hijab as a clothing and whether it should be legal in my country or not. I'll give my opinion at the end of the video in the closing remarks. And so basically, this protest in Iran is against the order by the government, the mandatory wearing of the hijab and any headscarf, which is what the government has mandated for all women. It's compulsory, and if they don't, they are arrested by the morality police. A woman named Mahsa Amini was arrested by the morality police not for not wearing the hijab. She was wearing it, but she was just wearing it improperly, meaning that some of her hair was still showing, and so she was arrested by the morality police, and then in arrest she died. Now her family claims that she was killed, that she got hit and beaten by the police on her head, and so she died. But the government says that it was a heart attack that caused her death. I'll examine both claims, and yeah, and so this has angered Iranian women who believe that she was murdered and are seeking justice and are also wanting the compulsory hijab rule to be removed from Iran. And I'll discuss both these issues in this video. So the Masa Amini protests began on 16th of September 2022 following the death of Masa Amini, who died while in police custody. According to eyewitnesses, she was beaten by the Guidance Patrol, which is the Islamic Morality Police of Iran, and she was accused of a fashion violation related to an improper hijab. Iranian police denied that Amini was beaten while she was in custody. In September, 50 protesters have been killed. So we'll have to see how many more get killed by the government. Uh, she was a 22-year-old Kurdish Iranian woman, and in after her funeral, protests were held in different parts of Iran. A nationwide strike was later called from Kurdistan province to Tehran on 18th of September. Iranian Kurdistan parties and civil and political activists from Kurdistan declared Monday a general strike day. So the chants being made in the protests are death to the dictator, guidance patrol, which is the morality police is a killer, I will kill the one who killed my sister. I want to make it very clear that while I support the protests of the Iranian women, that's only if they are peaceful. If they are shouting murderous slogans like death to the dictator and I will kill, then that is a violent slogan, and I do not support such protests. Just want to make it clear. And a number of women took off and burned their headscarves in response to the attack of the counterinsurgency forces. So yeah, uh, counterinsurgency forces have attacked protests, even some of the peaceful protests, and many people have died. So that's what's continuing to fuel the anger. Um, they began on Saturday after Amini's burial in Sake is her hometown, and the city of Sanandaj were the scene of massive demonstrations, in response to which the government used violent force to disperse protesters. Uh, the inscription on Amini's tombstone became a slogan of the protests. Beloved Zina, also called as Masa, you will not die, your name will become a symbol. So obviously it's a very emotional moment. Now I want to talk about uh, accusations by her family and the explanation by the government. Masa Amini's cousin has told Iran Wire that Masa's family are still under pressure to publicly back the regime's version of events, namely that she did not die due to head injury sustained in custody, but from complications from a historic brain surgery. So far, the family are refusing to go along with it. In addition, the Islamic Republic has tried to diminish Masa by claiming she was trained by Kurdish separatists outside the country. Uh, from all research I've done, I've never found this claim, so this is difficult for me to believe. The family are also empathetic that this is a lie, that she had no political affiliation and had never been abroad. Then how could she be trained by Kurdish separatists? Yesterday would have been, or Wednesday would have been Masa's 23rd birthday. That's very sad that she's not able to celebrate it. 6 days after her death in Tehran's Khasra hospital, protests demanding an end to Iran dictatorship in Iran continue in her name. They say that she died in a coma caused where she had a heart attack, and that so let's look at what coma patients look like in hospital. Here we can see they have a oxygen mask, and that's attached to their head, and uh, there's nothing around their cheek or chin. Their head is completely free of anything other than the oxygen mask. Now let's look at how Masa Amini looked. Here you can see there's band-aids on her back of her head and her cheeks, and she's got some things on her chest. So we can see that she got injuries here that normal coma patients didn't. So this itself makes it look like she did not die due to any heart failure, but due to uh, hit by it in the head. So as for now, I believed her family when they say that she was killed by the forces, but I'll wait until the investigation is done to say to tell you what really happened. If the investigation finds, and if it's a thorough, proper investigation, finds that she indeed did die of a heart failure, I will say that in a future video. Now let's go to the issue of hijab by country. So first I'll talk about Iran. In Iran, since 1981, after the 1979 Islamic Revolution, the hijab has become compulsory. And during the Middle Ages, Turkic nomadic tribes from Central Asia arrived whose women did not wear headscarves. However, the Safavid Empire, who were one of Iran's most significant ruling dynasties from the 1501 to 1736, they, in their rule, the headscarf became defined as a standard headdress for women in urban areas all around the Iranian Empire. Only villages among nomadic tribes were exceptions to this scene, and covering the whole face was rare among the Iranians, and most restricted to local Arabs. On 8th January 1936, Reza Shah, the ruler of Iran at that time, issued a decree banning all veils. The ban greatly humiliated and alienated many Iranian women. To enforce this decree, police were ordered to physically remove the veil of any woman who wore it in public. I disapprove of this decree because I think women should be allowed to wear hijab if they want to, and it shouldn't the government shouldn't punish them for that. And these measures were relaxed under his successor, and the wearing of a headscarf or chador was no longer an offense, but it was considered an indicator of backwardness or of membership of the lower class. And in the aftermath of the revolution, hijab was made compulsory in stages. In 1979, Ayatollah Khomeini announced that women would observe the Islamic dress code, and on 8th of March 1979, thousands of women began protesting against the mandatory hijab. The protest lasted 6 days until the 14th of March. They were met by government assurances that the statement was only a recommendation. However, as we know, it was subsequently made mandatory in government and public offices in 1980. In 1983, it became mandatory for all women, including non-Muslims and non-citizens. In Pakistan, hijab is not mandated by law. Man, if you're more strict than Pakistan, then as an Islamic country, or something's wrong with you. And in Saudi Arabia, the home of Islam, since 2019, the hijab or any other form of head covering is not required in Saudi Arabia. At one time, Saudi Arabian dress code used to require all women, local and foreign, to wear an abaya, a garment that covers the body and arms in public. But now that's not compulsory. It is only expected to be worn in the holy cities of Mecca and Medina. So yeah, we can see that Iran's rule is very strict and is not common throughout the Islamic world. So let's look at how the protests are going. Uh, Ibrahim Raisi, the ruler of Iran, has said that they will deal decisively with widespread unrest. He said that her death will be investigated. His Interior Minister Ahmed Vahidi has insisted that Ms. Amini had not been beaten. This is confusing because if you know that she did not die to any beating, that means that you've already investigated the death. There are reports, he says that there are reports from oversight bodies, witnesses were interviewed, and videos were reviewed, forensic opinions were obtained, and it was found that she had been no beating. And the police says she died of sudden heart failure. So these apparently don't count as an investigation by the Interior Minister, and a separate investigation will be held. So I don't know why he took these people's opinions. It's just really hard to believe that she just died of a sudden heart failure when her family says she never had such health problems and she was only 22, about to turn 23 this week. I could say many very bad words right now, which I won't, so that I don't get banned from YouTube. And Amnesty International says that 19 people have died, while but apparently 50 people have been killed so far in the protests. Ac- According to Iran Human Rights, which I think is a bit more reliable than the Amnesty International, which is going by the official death count of 17, which includes 5 security personnel. Now, this is where I get a little suspicious. The United States announced Friday it was easing export restrictions on Iran to expand internet services, days after SpaceX owner Elon Musk said he would seek an exemption from sanctions to offer his company's Starlink satellite service in the Islamic Republic, and he got them. I'm glad he's offering service because Iran's government is uh, put, uh, shutting down internet where in places where protests are happening. And I'm glad he's allowing them to communicate with each other, but he's a private citizen. I think he has the right to offer his businesses services to anyone in the world, and But as a government, the United States should not be interfering in another country's internal affairs. Although I support these protests, I don't want my government of India to get involved in it on either side because it's an internal matter of Iran. So I disagree with this decision. So, uh, what do I conclude from this? First, I'll just state my own opinion on the hijab. I think that it should be a woman can has the right to wear or not to wear the hijab as a human right, just like any person has a right to wear or not to wear any piece of clothing. Karnataka introduced a order in their state that all colleges and all schools will, no, not all colleges, all schools will have a uniform to be worn, and that this uniform will not allow anything else to be worn, like that signifies any religious identity, except for the Sikh turban, because that is an essential religious requirement for Sikhs. So something like a Hindu thread or a Hindu dress can't be worn. The Muslim hijab also can't be worn. So this caused a uproar in amongst some Muslims in Karnataka who said that the hijab should be allowed, but